All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. We had a bit of a delay, and then largely my fault. For some reason, my internet decided to completely crap out just as we were about to start the show. And I just, been out of sorts the last 30 minutes scrambling to try to get this thing back up and running. Bizarrely enough, it came back on. I got my laptop to resync about 2-3 minutes ago as the credits were rolling here. And I cannot get the main system to hook back up. So I don't know what is going on. This is a bizarre one. Yeah, I see people talking about it doesn't look that great. On my end, it looks great. I'm on a 5G thing. I had the hotspot. I don't have another option here. I don't know what is going on. But let me bring in Ron Coleman. Good to see you, Ron. How you doing?
Pretty good, thanks. Yourself?
Well, apart from the internet.
Oh, wait, you look better now. What just happened? Did you maybe switch over?
No.
No?
Hopefully it just got. I can't, like I said, from my end, it looks clean as a whistle because I'm direct into here. So
No, your video looks better now.
Okay, well let's hope it stays that way. So sorry about that, folks. If it's gonna happen, if my internet is gonna screw up, it's always gonna happen right before we start a show. So as long as you guys can hear me, okay, as long as we kind of keep this, hopefully, we'll be rolling along here. I've got the phone plugged directly into the Mac Studio, so we should have as solid a contact as I can get. I actually tried to switch back to the Wi-Fi as the credits were rolling because I'm like, oh, well, the laptop's working. I mean, it's over there. I can see the chat moving. It's working on the laptop, but for whatever goofy reason, it's not working here. I don't know what's going on. I really don't. I'm going to give it a shot because the internet's clearly working here. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try to switch back over to the Wi-Fi real quick. Let's see if
I'm now captain of the ship. Guys, I'm speaking to you from Washington, where I just left the post-conference dinner of the National Conservative annual meeting, where I was seated next to none other than Seb Gorka, who just spoke beautifully. My goodness, I can't wait for his video to be uploaded to the National Conservatism website. No,
it didn't work.
Why would you think Washington State? No, but you look fine. You look fine. When you first came on, you looked awful. What can I tell you?
Yeah,
you look awful.
I don't know.
You look marvelous.
I tried to go back to the Wi-Fi. I have no explanation as to why it's working on one device and not this one now, but it was definitely out.
You asked too many questions.
I know. I really, really do. So how you been, Ron?
Very excited. As I mentioned to you, and as I mentioned to our audience here, I left the side of Seb Gorka, my dinner mate, along with a few other characters like Kurt Schlichter and Jim Hansen, and in order to do this program, because I gave my word. And plus, you can't really sit next to Seb Gorka. People are constantly interrupting him, introducing themselves, and but boy, that man has such clarity of understanding. And boy, does he speak pretty, because he's schooled in the UK, His accent is almost as good, almost as nice as a Bayou accent.
Well, one of the things that maybe would have been more fun than seeing Seb Gorka tonight. Of course, there was an incredible sporting event earlier this week. Donald Trump was
more fun than Seb Gorka.
Yeah, Donald Trump even tweeted it out. There was a match between Chris Christie and JB Pritzker. Did y'all see this? You have to imagine right now, because I guess I'll bring up the audio for a second. It's Chariots of Fire is the music. I don't want to get copyright struck for that one. But yeah, so, great sporting event earlier this week with these two incredible athletes. And now everybody is washing their eyes with bleach. So
incredible. The first thing that Dr. Gorka said, I tweeted it when he got up to the podium. You'll appreciate this. Was I'm going to talk about what America First means, but I'll give you a little hint. I'm paraphrasing this part. Don't ride a fast boat full of cocaine along the U.S. coastline.
We talked about that. I did a live show yesterday, and we dug into this. I was the number of Democrats out there, like these two idiots, the number of Democrats out there that were furious about that, saying that they should have been. What if they weren't drug dealers? What if they were as if they would have shot a missile at a boat, not knowing who was on it, number one. And number two, the calls for they should have been arrested and, given a trial here. I'm like, at what point ever would we want to do that with foreign national combatants that are hell-bent on invading and killing Americans? I don't know.
Well, I guess, you might not know, and I might not know, but certainly a judge in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia would know. I mean, they know how to run everything.
Apparently,
and that's why they have taken over the government, or made certainly many attempts to do so.
That's one of the things I want to kind of discuss tonight with you. There's a number of great stories that happened today. And some of them were just, and this is one of the, I had this next in my bookmarks here. This is just, one of the typicals out there, the Brian Krasensteins of the world. Trump just murdered 11 people on a boat off of a Venezuela coastline to distract from the Epstein victims. That's, he said it was going to escalate.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. It's all about the Epstein. That's what's motivating Donald Trump, is these people's imaginary connections between Epstein and him. He mind-boggling.
Yeah, and I mean, you get more stuff like this. Marco Rubio said President Donald Trump blew it up, and it'll happen again. Maybe it's happening right now. Let me fix it. President Donald Trump murdered 11 people that he claims were drug runners leaving a foreign country in order to distract from them.
Well, when it comes to fixing it, Brian Krasenstein would be my first stop. He's the guy I go to for clarity and balance.
Yeah, absolutely. How about this one? Lethal force against a civilian vessel in international waters is a war crime, if not in self-defense, which this video does not show. Only non-lethal actions like warning shots or disabling fire are allowed.
I recommend that he immediately seek an injunction.
Yeah, I posited on this as a layperson last night. But I said, look, I realize there are international law out there, right? But at what point in the history of ever have the American people afforded the U.S. government the ability to subjugate the sovereignty of America to anyone else? This idea.
Talk.
Well, that's just it. There's people out there like this idiot that believe that, international law is out there and that's superior to American sovereignty. So we have to operate under what a bunch of other countries out there, many of them third world shithole types, are going to dictate to the American people it's preposterous to me. It's the world.
It's preposterous, and we're not doing it anymore. We're just not playing that game anymore.
Yeah. This is called an extrajudicial execution, Ron. That's what this is.
Okay.
Yeah,
call it what you want. Call it what you want, and collect those tears.
Yep. Oh, I had this. I did. I don't know if you saw this. I didn't play this last night. This was priceless. So there was this clip out there of Jasmine Crockett, our one of our favorite folks out there in Congress, and
are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things. Yeah, you ain't got to believe me. Just go Google. You'll find some of it. I'm telling you. And the wives is being messy and petty. They putting it in the divorce. I'm like, ooh, that's got to be true because your lawyer.
So that's Jasmine Crockett today. Clay Travis doing yeoman's work out there. Put together this. It's like, what happened to Jasmine Crockett from a couple of years ago compared to now? Watch this.
First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. No one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Maybe because these people, they are crazy because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on the side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers.
Valiant, isn't that how everyone in your neighborhood talks, though? Isn't that how everyone in New Orleans talks?
Everybody, absolutely.
Aren't you putting on a fake standard American pronunciation for us for this program, and that's how you talk to when you come home from work?
That's always it. That's every single time. So I saw, it's like, this is perfect because people have talked about how, Jasmine she acts ghetto now, like she's down on the street, but her upbringing suggests otherwise. And so they went back and pulled these clips from years ago of her, just kind of speaking normally and everything else, and then how she's completely shifted her entire her entire speech pattern, her dialect, and everything else.
Her persona. I mean, look at that dignified look that she's sporting, huh?
Right. And then we went to what we've got today, where it's that
interns, all the things. Yeah, you ain't got to believe me. Just go Google. You'll find some of it. I'm telling you. And the wives is being messy and petty. They.
What a difference a few years makes, right? Yeah. So, that's it. I lost one of the super chats that was pinned in StreamYard when I reset. It came from Snarky for $20.
Yeah, Snarky. I mean, I might be able to, right? Because unlike I actually didn't lose. I didn't lose it.
Do you have the starred chats can you pull them up? I don't know.
I think I can. I got too many. I'm doing this on my laptop, but oh no, I don't have it. I don't have them in. Yeah, that's weird. Should be able to, but it doesn't look. Oh, comments. Starred. There's Snarky. Okay, so that's Snarky on my channel. Or that's
he sent you some. Yeah, he sent you something. So okay, so what I've got backstage in YouTube is a $20 super chat first up. I don't know. Like I said, you might still see it in the StreamYard, but I can't see it anymore.
Yes, Snarky, thank you for the $20 super chat. Yeah.
But I've got that on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry.
And for also the gifting 10 lawyer Ron Coleman memberships.
Yep, we got those.
I like people to be members.
Absolutely.
I like members to be people.
That's always a good one too. Thank you very much, Snarky. We appreciate you.
Snarky, we really. The good thing about Snarky is that Snarky will spend like a drunken sailor on our program, and that's the kind of listener we're looking for. That's
Indeed.
The kind of we call that community membership.
That's right.
So listen, Oh, okay, you got that one. Although
I've got those. I've got
one.
these two. I didn't have the first one he sent in. I have it in YouTube, so I'm going to read that. I just won't be able to pull it up on screen. Snarky for $2. What you drinking, VR? It's trying something new. I always try different things. This is Fairhope Brewing Company. Never had this before. It's called Blue Steel. It's blueberry and lemon. I like this kind of stuff in the summer when it's really freaking hot down here. Actually, these are pretty good. So, like, it's really, really light. It's not like a heavy beer kind of thing. It's really light. It's a really good one.
Sounds good.
$20 from Snarky as well. He says Mama is responding well to treatment, still investigating underlying infection, allowed to eat first meal in over 24 hours, just an hour ago, possibly going home tomorrow. School staff emergency intervention saved her life. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, last night we had the show. Snarky had some bad stuff going on with the missus. So glad she is recovering. Glad she's doing well. He was talking about that last night in the chat. So glad to hear things are progressing, man. We're really happy about that one. And thank you so much for the support, dude. Keep us posted on what's going on with that. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down my YouTube studio backstage just to save a little bit of extra bandwidth here. Because that is chewing some stuff up. And then I'm just going to run it from StreamYard here. So I should be able to catch everything from this point. Hillis Mallory for 2. Hello there. Boat went boom, boom. Yeah, it did. And it was so fun to watch. A lot of Democrats were not happy about that, but a lot of regular folks out there were. Okay. One of the topics I wanted to bring in before we kind of get into this, one of these bigger stories here that we got out there with Trump, and I want to get your thoughts on it when we get there, Ron, on, we've seen what Trump is doing with Washington, D.C., using National Guard to just basically make the city safe. And he's discussed taking that to other cities. So I want to get your thoughts on that one when we get there. But there was a couple of interesting things today, smaller stories, but I thought that were fascinating. So I don't know if you saw this. This person out there on X posted this today, saying the India lobby has started paying conservative influencers to spread propaganda. Yeah, about how India loves Trump and is a good ally. These people will sell out their country for a couple of grand. I confirmed from a source who received a similar offer. Okay, so this is what the poster said. We're just going off of this is what's being put out there. And he shares a few examples. And some of these people you may know. Chuck Callisto, the CCP would love for America to waste energy pressuring countries that aren't a threat. Don't take the bait, stand strong. Keep the pressure where it belongs on the regime actively working to undermine America's future. And then, amazingly, we have similar tweets from other accounts. We have this one here from Gunther Eagleman. The CCP, illegal surveillance ops, floods U.S. markets with subsidized spyware, steals military and tech secrets. India buys oil legally. India loves Trump. That's why the mainstream media is going after them. Let's not waste time pretending they're the enemy just because India participates in the free market neutrally. Now, I'm not really familiar with this guy. I don't follow him. Do you know this guy, Ron?
I know him. I don't really know him. You
know him online.
I know him online. We don't actually, but among the people that I know online, he's not someone that I've ever really communicated with directly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that he was in this game, but clearly he is.
Apparently. America AF. India isn't the problem. Pushing them towards China's alliance is. We're alienating a potential partner. India has always loved Trump. See, we're getting this India loves Trump. Trump loves India, whatever. Don't let the mainstream media trick us into thinking India is an enemy. So we're getting these kind of repeated things. And then a lot of people know this account. Election Wizard. The fake news is trying to paint India as an enemy.
I'm astonished because Wizard is so I have heard the suggestion that a lot of these accounts are no longer being operated by the people who made them famous, that they sold them lock, stock, and barrel.
Probably for a lot of money.
I can tell you that I have represented a social media star whose name you would know. And it's less. There is money out there. There's money out there. Yeah, it's a thing.
Oh, yeah. But look at this. They've always loved and worked with Trump. The language is very, very similar from one tweet to the next, and it does make you wonder. Now, that's not to say that, some of us out there can make similar tweets about a certain topic, but the accusation here is, yeah.
I'll tell you something else, though. This is not how an American writes. If we make them an enemy, they will fall into the hands of the CCP. That's not how. That's not
Were
how.
You the guy that scammed my mom out of $400 on a refund? No, I'm kidding.
Just click. I'm going into your account. I'm going into your account to process your refund.
Meanwhile, he's opening the HTML code.
Right. If we make them an enemy, they will fall into the hands of that. That's not how Wiz talks. And I'll tell you something. So Wizard is an account that has not been nearly as active on X, and he must have gotten into something else. And so he blew up in 2020. Actually,
I remember.
But he's really been, and a lot of these guys have moved on to other subscription services or whatever. They're doing just fine. And I don't want to throw shade at the guy, but this doesn't sound like him, and it is surprising to see accounts that, you know what, folks, that's life.
Yeah.
What are we going to say? You shouldn't be allowed to do that. But people will find ways to monetize and leverage everything, and there's not much we can do about that. And I'm not sure there's much that we have. In other words, once you realize that that's what's going on, you're going to what they inevitably end up doing is devaluing their account. They're devaluing their voice. It's basically the private equity equivalent of social media.
Yeah.
And it's a shame.
It is.
But there's room for new, other more legitimate voices to come up, and the weeds will die, and the great cycle of life continues.
And look, to the point here, and this is one of our good friends, and he's talked about this for several years. People always ask him, why doesn't he do collaborations with some of these big, MAGA people, big MAGA influencers? Well, there you go. I'll let Jeremy tell you himself. Our buddy DJ Cobra over there, Jeremy Prime from Geeks and Gamers. One of the many reasons why I don't collab with, quote, MAGA influencers. And good on him for doing that. He sticks to his own little realm, does his thing. But a lot of people are taking notice of this, and he called out a lot of the folks that had the binders with the Epstein files and all this. It's like, yeah, boy, that turned into a mess. And
there's a lot of my friends there. They really got rooked.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and a lot of people felt, well, they had it coming to them, yada, yada, but I'm not sounding very intelligent right now, but.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
Well, did you see the Lauren Chen story from today?
Yes, I did. I saw her. I didn't have a chance to read it, but I actually retweeted it because, did you read the whole thing?
Yeah, I did.
What's the story?
So
Can you give us the TLDR?
Yeah. This was really interesting. So for those of you who may remember, I mean, Lauren Chen was a big social media figure, and you know, back during, well, I guess it was about a year ago now, a year and a half ago, kind of all this weird stuff started,
Yeah.
where she was getting accused of all kind of crazy stuff. And when I say accused, I'm talking about the Joe Biden DOJ, the Department of
Yeah.
Justice, former Attorney General Merrick Garland, who, if you recall, was Barack Obama was trying to tap this guy to be Supreme Court justice before he went out the door back in 2016, before Trump came in.
Yep.
And then he became Attorney General under the Biden administration in 2020.
Embarrassing. There's such an embarrassment to the office that he almost made us forget Eric Holder.
Oh God,
such a dishonest. And when I say crook, I don't mean like, oh, he's on the take, but what he turned the Justice Department into is just an absolute. The destruction will take decades to repair, if it can be repaired at all.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the left loves to project. They love to accuse the other side of that which they themselves do. Political persecution being one of them. That was kind of a hallmark of that DOJ under Biden. Eric Holder, it's kind of hard to top him, right? I mean, this is the guy that did the whole Fast and Furious thing, not the movies, folks. But where they did the gun running to Mexican drug lords, basically letting all that pass through. But basically here, Lauren Chen was attacked by the Joe Biden DOJ, led by led by Merrick Garland, and her life was destroyed. And it was nothing. It was nothing at all. Nothing at all. And Lauren Chen was basically, she and her family were bankrupt by this. All of her social media accounts, her YouTube account, everything else was completely shut down because of the accusations levied against her. And
I'm not sure. I think she actually. I'm not sure she was shut down. I think she unplugged. I'm not sure she was shut down.
Well, she said that they were shut down by YouTube and everybody else.
Oh yeah, it might have been. Okay, because YouTube has this policy that they have a foreign policy. YouTube has a foreign policy.
Yeah,
I mean the Russians really do F around on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, that was part of the story, right? Was that Lauren Chen was being accused as being a Russian agent, basically. And September 4th, 2024, 2 months before the election, my husband, 2-year-old, and I were awoken early in the morning by 30 armed FBI agents trying to break down our door. At the time, I was entering my 4th month of pregnancy. The FBI spent the next 4 hours searching our house and interrogating us about our company, Tenant, which licensed mostly right-leaning conservative content. They took all of our electronics, seized our assets. This included our life savings and revenue that had nothing to do with Tenant, such as payments from contracts with the Blaze and TPUSA. The same day, Merrick Garland published a press release which essentially labeled Tenant, her company, a Russian propaganda operation intent on subverting American elections. So they dragged her down this road, completely soiled her name. And let's just say that, and you can go read the entirety of her post yourself. I mean, Lauren Chen, I think she's been on with a lot of our friends like Nerdrotic and D-Day Cobra. I think she was on Friday Night Tights a couple of times. Lauren.
I will say that is in the months leading up to this, her content definitely changed. She became very stridently anti-Israel, which was not like a thing. Like, there is a range of opinions among conservatives.
I didn't remember that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm a little bit more sensitive to it, and I stopped following her because it wasn't. I mean, we used to be kind of friendly, and all of a sudden it became this, and who knows? It could be entirely her just legitimate way that she her legitimate beliefs, and whatever. But it was. So I discussed the whole thing with Tim Pool, who was also accused, and he always said I was never asked to do anything with my content, and I never did. There was nothing that I did whatsoever, except I think he did produce an additional show. He had his Culture Wars. He had a Culture Wars weekly show, I think, on Fridays or something. But please continue.
No, it's fine. I'm just, the bottom line is the accusations here were, according to her, completely unfounded. They were big reaches at best, saying that because of some really, really thin, tacit connection to this and that and the other thing, that she was basically being paid by the Russians to help subvert the election in 2024. So we're back to the whole Trump-Russia crap is what this boils down to, which I think we all know now was complete bogus. Another pile of garbage that was invented by Hillary Clinton back in 2016, as it were. The Christopher Steele dossier, the Perkins Coie law firm, and all these guys out there that have been working with the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation for years. But never any criminal charges. And she makes that point. There were never any actual criminal charges. They just went public with all of these claims. Never charged her with anything. Ostensibly,
I'll tell you, the Justice Department was really just it was just an organized crime. The whole J6 thing was a political op. I'm not saying that nobody committed any violence at the Capitol. I'm not saying that, but the dragnet, the ridiculous sentences. Well, trust me, a lot of discussion of that at this conference that is now over, the National Conservatism Conference here in DC. And I'd be happy to discuss that more if we have time and if you want to hear it.
Sure. No, absolutely. Let me finish this up. But this is the point that you were mentioning earlier, Ron. Though there were never any criminal charges, much less convictions due to this widely publicized investigation, all of our professional contracts were promptly dropped. We were deplatformed from YouTube, TikTok, Discord, and Google. We and even some of our family members were debanked by several financial institutions. We were forced to move due to death threats. Our work-based immigration visa, which was torpedoed by the actions against our company, was not renewed. The Canadian government also seemed to have opened their own investigation into us following these allegations. So it was life-destroying, right? And it wasn't something that was ever presented to a court. There was no charges filed. There was nothing. There was just the DOJ went out and basically did a press conference after raiding her home in the middle of the night. And that was it. It was a show. It was just a show to basically destroy her.
And no accountability.
No, none
in
whatsoever.
Fact, I'll tell you something. So one of the remarkable things that Seb Gorka said in the speech that I just heard was, forget about labels about left and right, conservative and liberal. He said the world is divided into two kinds of people. People who are accountable and people who are not accountable. And the people who ran things during the Biden administration never, decided on policies and treated people in ways that they saw fit with no accountability whatsoever. But you and I fill out a form wrong, God forbid, lie to law enforcement about where we were or what we were doing about something. Yeah. And they'll slap the cuffs on us. And that, that's what happened. That's what happened to Lauren. And she paid the price for being targeted by someone for some reason. But I do hope she finds a lawyer and I don't think it'll be me because I'm a small hat guy. I mean, I do think she really kind of became kind of a little, not more than a little. She really did not. It wasn't just Israel. I think she was really kind of leaning into anti-Semitism, frankly. So I wasn't shedding
I
tears,
didn't watch
but that
her
doesn't
frequently,
make it
so
cool.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, I don't watch
I just-
anyone anytime, but just it was X. It was that's where I would encounter her. Anyway,
Yeah, well, of course she had legal counsel, and the bills ran up to 6 figures, as she talks about in here. One of the things she notes here at the top of the one of the last pages here, in April, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York informed our lawyer. Boy, there's been some zingers that comes out of the SDNY in their run.
They are an incredibly arrogant bunch of bastards.
Southern District of New York informed our lawyer that the investigation into us, this is back in April of this year, and our company had finally been closed. We're closing the investigation. Nothing's coming of this. Sorry we ruined your life. The news provided us with some relief, but it soon became clear that although we weren't criminals, that the SDNY had no interest in restoring us to where we were before the investigation began, though they could easily do so. I didn't get there was no press release absolving us of the very public and very serious allegations that have been made. There'd be no help clearing our names with the Canadian government. They would not restore our visa status, and predictably, despite the lack of charges or conviction, our financial assets, all of our savings, would not be returned.
What?
That's what she's saying. Is that typical?
I don't. Yeah, that I find that makes no sense to me at all. But would never. Well, I mean, she's not going to get returned is business losses as a result of this abuse of power. Mm-hmm. But if assets were seized,
which is
by
what
the
she
government,
claims,
then they are certainly entitled to return of them.
Yeah. Well, that's what she's saying, that they've had no word on.
So
she says
that's the difference. No word on. Let me tell you. I mean, they.
Yeah. Well, they've told her they've done nothing to this point.
Right, and they there's no real urgency going back to this accountability thing.
Yeah.
It's not their problem, We'll put through the papers. Yeah, we'll get back. Yeah. Don't call us. We'll call you.
Yeah. So basically, she started a GoFundMe because of this political persecution. Yeah.
Amazing.
And, yeah. So, and it basically to help cover what she says are some enormous legal bills. I think she set the fundraiser at $150,000. Which I'm presuming that's, from what it sounds like, what she says in this statement, that's probably about what the legal bills are for the last couple of years or the last year. So anyway, I found that fascinating because, again, it's another story of lawfare, political persecution, and going after your political enemies for really, really sketchy reasons at best. And in reality, maybe none whatsoever. I mean, it's not just Donald Trump that they attacked. I mean, I remember back in maybe around 2012, I think during Obama's reelection, you had all of the taxed enough already, the Tea Party groups that were popping up. And a lot of them were trying to file for 501c3s or whatever version of the nonprofit that covers that. Because a lot of them were just, I know there was one around here locally where they were, collecting money from folks that were showing up at events and then using it to pay for the venues to host the events. Nobody was making any money from it. And there was this weaponization of the IRS, I recall, because I was involved in one of these things. Yeah, they weaponized the IRS to where they were categorically denying the applications for the 501(c)s for these certain entities if they were politically misaligned with the current administration at the time, which was the Obama administration. There was a lot of that going on. So it does not at all surprise me because Democrats, they have a pretty well-documented history, although you'd be hard-pressed to find it reported from any of the typical news media out there, the legacy access media, that this ever happened. I mean, there are still people. I saw one the other day. I had to laugh. It's like, I haven't seen one of these in a while. Posting a picture of Barack Obama saying, boy, I miss having a scandal-free president. Like the delusion in these people. I mean, we just mentioned Fast and Furious as one of them a minute ago under Obama and Eric Holder, where guns were being allowed to be taken by Mexican drug lords, you know, and they stopped tracking them. They just disappeared. And then don't forget Benghazi and everything else. No, totally scandal.
Nothing to talk about. Yeah.
Nothing to talk about. Totally scandal free. So,
if they decide what the scandals are, they decide who's going to be accountable and who's not going to be accountable, and none of our people are going to be accountable, then you know what Stalin said, right, about voting. It's not interested in the votes, I'm interested in who counts the votes. It's the same thing with counting scandals.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. We've got a couple of super chats. Let me catch up on these. Snarky for $5. These narco idiots are celebrating new holiday kaboom. And for $100, Snarky also sends in. Whoops. Kaboom. I guess instead of like Kwanzaa, it's kaboom. The boat just blows up. It's the new holiday. Snarky for $100. For the fee for someone who specializes in connectivity to fix your shit. We love your content, and it's worth the wait. Take that internet beast by the horns, man. Well, like I said, it's bizarre. I mean, I know, look, sometimes utilities go out, and this time the internet just happened to go out right before the show started. The laptop, I think, reconnected. I might just need to totally reboot the main system here to get it to relink. I don't know. I'm not going to do that during the show. We seem to be trucking along okay for right now. But thank you so much, Snarky, for the $100 chat out there. And thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, hit the share button. If you're watching on X, thank you for being here. If you want to join in on the chat, help support the show, come hop over to YouTube. We got a lot of chat going on here, but we've got about almost 2,000 of you watching currently between YouTube and X. So outstanding. Thank you guys for being here. Absolutely amazing. Let's see. We got a couple of more here. Let me go back up. We got two more. Archer Merchant for $2. Thoughts about the former Disney lawyer suing Disney? I don't think I've seen this story. Archer, I'm going to have to look this one up. This was something that happened today, I guess, perhaps. I'm going to have to hunt for that one.
But yeah. I'm guessing. I remember the story, though. I do remember the story. It was a Disney lawyer who wasn't it an O'Keefe interview? And he talked about, well, I don't know if it's this guy, so why should I?
I'm gonna have to. I'll try to pull this one up. That might be something we.
Let's have the production. Sunday. Let's have the guys in the production department get back to us on this.
Yeah, exactly. Archer, if you if you don't have to super chat again. I mean, you can. We'd love it. But no, you don't. Just put the name. Put the name of the lawyer or the story. I know you probably won't be able to post the link. But I'll check it out. We got one more here from Bad News Badger for 100 Danish krona. While I do enjoy the other channel very much, talking about, I guess, the main channel, Valiant Renegade, this is one where our differences are really showcased, and this socialistic scumbag also enjoys that very much. Bad News
I find
Badger,
myself quite puzzled by this comment. But for 100 DKKs, what is that? 14 cents in real money? What the hell? Krona. Yeah, $10. I mean, what's that? How many gallons of gas can you buy with that? What is it?
Well,
What
here
kind of money
in
is
Europe,
that?
where he's at.
Well, anywhere. If you can buy Danish gas.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, I appreciate. No, Bad News Badger has been a long time a fan and supporter over on the
No, I
main
know. I
channel.
recognize.
Good dude.
I
We
recognize
appreciate
Bad
him
News
being
Badger.
here. I know. He's giving you hell. Thank you guys very, very much. We appreciate you.
Explain. Okay.
Yep. And let me see here. I don't know if Archer post that. Like I said, I'll try to look that up a little bit later. So and see, because I'd be curious to see what that's all about. Here's another little fun one. Because did you see any of the Senate testimony today for Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr.? They had him in there.
I read about it again. I was going to sessions. I was going to sessions all day, so I didn't get a chance to see it. And I also did some work for some clients, by the way. I can't live. You
mean you got a day job too?
I got a little bit of a day job thing.
Yeah. So some of the fun moments from this that were out there. I thought this would be a fun one to play.
Good.
We love Elizabeth Warren. No, we don't. This was so. Let me kind of give you a little bit of a background. What was going on? So the Senate subcommittee hauled in Robert RFK Jr., Robert Kennedy Jr., who was head of Health and Human Services. He's one of the cabinet members with Donald Trump. And basically trying to grill him because the Senate, the Democrats, are still very upset that he was appointed as a cabinet member, that he was confirmed by the Senate. The Democrats that didn't vote for him because they think, of course, like everybody who works with Trump, he's the worst thing ever. You know, that usual thing. So this was one of the more fiery moments here that RFK was, at this point, he was already getting pissed. And of course, she's sitting right next to old Bernie Sanders. I don't know how this guy is still breathing. He's got to be about 147 years old. He's supposed to be cast as Yoda in the new Star Wars film next year. I don't know. But check this out.
Will you tell America that all adults and all children over 6?
Is that too quiet? It's really kind of quiet on my end. Let me try to boost that up a wee bit.
I won't lie.
Let's see if that works.
Will you tell America that all adults and all children over 6 months of age are eligible to get a COVID booster at their local pharmacy today?
Anybody can get the booster.
I'm sorry?
Anybody can get it.
Anybody. So you're saying that is now the official rule of HHS. Anybody is eligible to get a booster by just walking into the pharmacy.
It's not recommended for healthy people.
No. If you don't recommend, then the consequence of that in many states is that you can't walk into a pharmacy and get one. It means insurance companies don't have to cover the $200 or so cost. As Senator Dr. Cassidy said, you are effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
What you should be doing is honoring your promise that you made when you were looking to get confirmed in this job.
You're going like...
When you were, did you see, she was like, when you were looking to get confirmed in this job, like she's rubbing her fingers, like, put the cash in my hand, right? Watch Kennedy's response. If you haven't seen this, because he picks up on that. And he'd about had enough at this point of this bitch.
That is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans...
Again, nobody's saying that the pharmacies are going to be banned from dispensing vaccinations. He's just saying yeah.
I haven't heard his response yet, but it's not a crazy question. She's saying, I'm not have to repeat it. I want to hear what he says. Let's see.
Yep.
They're going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
Dollars.
Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy
The
for free.
question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
I know
Mr.
I didn't.
Kennedy,
I
not
never
mine.
promised that I was going to
You didn't
recommend
promise-
products
Oh,
with which
I'm
there is no
sorry.
indication.
When you said.
And I know
that
you've
these
taken
were working for
$855,000 from pharmaceutical companies,
Senator.
Senator.
Here we go.
Big sign saying that you will.
Yeah, that's it. And look, what he's trying to get at, she's trying to put him in a corner saying, you need to personally recommend that everybody does this. And he's saying, why? It's like, we're not taking them away from anybody. They want to go get one, they'll have it. Most Americans will still have access to it for free. But I don't want to take the position of recommending something for which I feel, as Health and Human Services Secretary, that there is an inadequate, completely inadequate amount of data out there for me to make such a recommendation on behalf of the U.S. government that every kid go do this,
Lying when you said that, because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy,
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary,
You want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
Is that what you want?
Secretary Kennedy, you said you wouldn't, and now you did.
I'm not taking them away.
Obviously-
Everybody can get access to them.
No, they can't walk into a pharmacy the way they could last month and get access.
It
to a
depends on the
vaccine.
state. It depends on the
It
states.
depends. A year ago,
But they can
did
still
not
get it.
depend.
Everybody
A
can get
month
it.
ago, it did not
Everybody can
depend.
get.
it's like she's stuck on stupid. It's like she keeps going in the same circle. And he keeps answering the question over and over again that nobody's taking them away.
All right, but well, here's the thing. The reason it sounds like she's not stupid. She is not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But what she's done actually is, like, she refuses to rephrase the question in a way that what she says, I acknowledge that no one is being prohibited from getting it, but don't you recognize that it's going to cost people money who previously would have gotten it covered? That would be a completely legitimate way to rephrase it, but that doesn't get her the soundbite, that she's looking for. So she won't rephrase it, and of course he now comes back. Look, he's an experienced guy. He knows what he's doing politically, and he says, this is pretty much what I expect from someone who got $850,000 from Big Pharma for her campaign.
Yeah, and that he threw that knife at her at that point, and that's been a big bone of contention for RFK since he got up there. Calling out. There's a lot of people on this committee, and I think he did this during his confirmation hearings, that you took money. You took money. You're on the payroll. You got $850,000. You got $1 million. You got $500,000 from Big Pharma and all this kind of stuff. So, probably a legitimate point to make in campaign donations. But, he did try to answer it as like, most people will still be able to get it for free. It's like, that's not really changing. So, and I think he was trying to answer that at one point. He said that at one point, but she kind of kept going back to, you said this, you said you wouldn't take it away. You wouldn't take it away. Nobody's
Right, because she's a demagogue.
Away.
She's a demagogue. She's a demagogue, and she knows exactly what she's doing. She has, it's interesting because my friend Randy Barnett, he wrote a fascinating book called A Life for Liberty. It's about how he's really one of the most prominent conservative, or he's really a libertarian law professors in the country now. And he started out as he went to Harvard Law School, but all he ever wanted was to be a prosecutor, and he became a prosecutor in Cook County after law school, which is not, you don't go to Harvard Law School to become a state prosecutor. And he spent I don't know, 10, 12 years or something doing, and then he got tired of it. He started teaching a little bit and realized that the world was a bigger place than, the prosecutor's office. And one of the things he writes about is as he moved up through the ranks of academia, he met her, Elizabeth Warren, and really found her to be a gracious and interesting and intelligent person. He left it there because
Yeah.
there are lots of people, I believe, who were once normal people who become politicians, and especially Democratic Party politicians, who really lose their humanity they what's the phrase the young people use? They don't touch grass. They're just out of touch with what the rest of the world is going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it really is, right? They get up there and they think, oh, I've made it. This is how you get rich. You become elected. And as we've seen, what was the story this week? Somebody had suggested that they estimated Ilhan Omar's net worth to now be something like $30 million, which is insane. I mean, the woman poor as dirt not even 4 years ago.
Amazing,
came
right?
to Congress, had nothing from nothing, and now her estimated net worth, according to some out there,
and she responded. And didn't she have a pretty detailed response to it? I don't know if it was any, if it was satisfactory to anyone, but I mean,
I'd have to go back and pull it
up. Got a story. She's sticking to it.
Yeah. One of the fun things out there, speaking of the Senate confirmations, there was another one, and this just kind of slipped under the radar. I caught this not long before the show started. Oop, that's the wrong window. Let me switch over here. There was another gentleman, I think today, Riley Barnes, who was this was a confirmation hearing, I believe, tapped to serve as Assistant Secretary of State for Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor under Marco Rubio. So this was during a Senate Foreign Relations hearing yesterday, on Wednesday. I don't know if you saw this, specifically from former vice presidential candidate, now current sitting senator from the state of Virginia, Tim Kaine. Hillary Clinton's running mate back in 2016. Yeah, did you see this one? I don't know if the audience had seen this one yet, so I'm going to pull this one up.
Yeah, pull that puppy.
This is a good one. Riley Barnes, as we mentioned, who was undergoing his confirmation today with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Barnes quoted Secretary of State Marco Rubio in his opening remarks, telling lawmakers on the panel, "We are a nation founded on a powerful principle. And that powerful principle is that all men are created equal because our rights come from God, our creator, not from our laws, not from our governments." Now, I don't know about you, Ron. I probably do. But to me, this has always been, as far as I've ever known, my entire nearly 46 years of existence on this planet, to be an absolute unassailable fact of America's founding. It's one of the things
they are endowed by their creator with inalienable rights.
Exactly. It's a really simple concept. And the reason that I have always understood that to be is because that's what makes America so different from every other country that has ever existed on the planet in all of history, is that the people gave that power to the government with limitations because the people said there are certain unalienable rights that we are born with that the government cannot under any circumstance infringe upon. And it was laid out in that document that spent 2 years between 1787 and 1789 in September. By the way, coming up here, which is the next couple of days, I can't remember, was it September 12th? The ratification date, 1789. I got to go back and look it up. I can't remember. I know it was in September. But it's been 2 years going around. 86 little documents called the Federalist Papers were written by the authors of the Constitution, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison, to try to help the colonies to understand what they had crafted in the Constitution to ratify it. This is a concept that has been around as long as this country has existed. Tim Kaine, who that is the perfect picture of Tim Kaine. He is one of the craziest nutbags I think ever. And I mean, look, the Democrat Party has an amazing history, at least in the last 25 years especially, of selecting some of the wackiest people to be vice presidential candidates. I think we all remember Howard Dean, going out there on the stage and all this. And then we get Tim, say everybody remembers that one. Tim Kaine, who was Hillary Clinton's running mate later on, that was as nutty as he looks here. And then, of course, we got Tim Walz out there on the last go around with Kamala Harris. We all know how great a job he's doing. Tim Kaine had a response to this, and this begs disbelief. Okay, this might actually. It's been a while since I ran this, so it might try to roll a commercial again. It does. Okay, so let me let that run in the background. But here's the deal. I'm going to wait for this. This is going to queue up any second. It's got to go through this ad on Fox's webpage.
And plus, you're using dial-up.
That's right. I'm using 5G hotspot. Can you hear the AOL sound in the background? The 56K baud modem going on. I'm about to get a thing in my ear that says, "You've got mail." So anyway, here we go. Tim Kaine, who is now a senator from Virginia after a failed bid to be vice president with Hillary Clinton some years back. Let's get into it here.
Laws and don't come that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the creator. That's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime.
What a Richard.
How
embarrassing. How embarrassing.
It's an Iranian concept that rights
that bases its rule on Shia law and targets Sunnis, Baha'is, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities.
Suddenly he cares about Jews
because they believe that they understand what natural rights are from their creator. So
when they should, in fact,
our rights do not come
recognize that we are the font of law.
Governments is extreme.
Yeah,
so
that's just
the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
You're a retard.
I mean, I have heard some dumb shit come out of the mouths, especially Democrats in Congress. That is some of the dumbest shit I have ever heard. I mean, again, but think about this, Ron. Does it not just absolutely explain everything what Democrats feel deep down? Is that they, our superiors, our moral superiors, our betters, our
rulers,
our politicians are, yes, our rulers. They are the ones that we must trust with granting us rights. You know, Ron, there's a concept out there that if you claim something as a right, and if it's granted by the government, therefore it can also be taken away by the government. I would put it to you that it isn't a right to begin with, because that's not that's maybe a privilege, like a driver's license. Yeah.
Right.
But
this just goes to show that they're only motivated by scoring points. So they will.
Yeah.
You say to them, okay, so listen, the next point you're going to score is going to require you to crawl through this hole and put your entire body into this shape. And you're going to have to hold your breath for this long. And you're going to have to, when you come out, you're going to be covered. And just tell me what I have to do to score the point. And they'll say anything. I mean, and what I would like to know is, did some staffer write that question for him, or was that his clever, extemporaneous jibe? I've got a good one here. Just terrible, mediocre people. Ugh.
Well, it's what's so baffling to me but I mean, when you think about this, when you look back at the history of the Democrat Party, especially in the last 25 years or so, and I mean, they talk everything is a right to them, right? Health care is a right. This is a right. That is a right. Housing is a right. I mean, when you put the word right next to something, then if it's something that is tangible, like a house, when they say, everybody has a right to housing. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that the federal government has to guarantee everybody gets a house and buy them one? Is that
Well,
what
everyone has to get a vaccine.
Right.
So now we're just negotiating on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like when they say healthcare is a right, and I would get in arguments with people about this because I've spent over 20 years, in the financial planning industry. Part of that is having a life and health insurance license, among other things. And I write, group healthcare plans for small businesses and things like that. And I tell people, I'm like, explain to me healthcare is a right. Well, everybody should have access to healthcare. I'm like, okay, well, I don't disagree with that wholly. I think everybody should have the ability to have access to healthcare if they have the ability to seek it, the pursuit of happiness kind of thing. But to say that people have an inherent right to receive healthcare, well, who's paying for that? Does that mean that somebody has a right to walk into a doctor's office and force them to provide a service? I think we kind of outlawed that 150 years ago. It was called slavery. You can't conscript somebody into economic servitude because you claim it's a right. This is why rights are things like, hey, you have the right to life. You have the right to liberty. You have the right to the pursuit of happiness. The Constitution left it kind of clean and nothing to where it's like, you have the right to blah, blah, blah. You have the right to keep bear arms. It doesn't say that you have a right to, everybody has a right to be given a gun. But
yeah, I mean, look, people are definitely, people are, they're using the phrase in a sort of a loose way. I mean, as a lawyer, right, I'm frequently protecting people's rights. Not every right that I protect is a constitutional right. There are, Your Honor, my client has a right to respond to that interrogatory before the 30-day, so we do use the term in a sort of a looser way, but that wasn't what this discussion was about. This discussion was about constitutional rights, about inalienable rights. And, again, it's just a matter of scoring points and generating sound bites. Just an absolute maroon.
I've got a lot of friends who are Democrats, and they haven't asked me for.
Well,
I've got a lot of friends who are Democrats.
Well, StreamYard doesn't want to work.
I've got a lot of.
Come on.
Are you muting or?
Not me.
What in the world? Okay. Well,
I've got a lot of friends
buttons over here,
and they haven't asked me for advice. But if I did, I'd tell them, look, you just got to try harder not to suck.
There we go, and it finally worked. Okay, good. I've been hitting that clip for like 10 times now, and it finally popped up that time. To kind of finish up the story, it gets a little bit more fun. And again, going back to what Tim Kaine responded, the notion that rights, pardon me, I scrolled up too far. The secretary went on to say that we will always be strong defenders of that principle, and that's why the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor, he said, we are a nation of individuals, each made in the image of God and possessing an inherent dignity. This is truth that our founders understood as essential to American self-government. But Senator Tim Kaine, who was a Catholic, found Barnes's sentiment troubling. And I love these Democrats out there that love to tout the fact they're Catholic, but at the same time have no issue sending or trying to send gajillions of dollars to abortion clinics around the country. The two don't equal out. Quote, the notion that that rights don't come from laws and don't come from government, but come from the creator. That's what the Iranian government believes. That's what Kane's comments were. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law and targets, I don't know if he meant Shia law or Sharia law, targets Sunnis. Just saying. I mean, I know there are Shia Muslims, right? There's also Sharia law, which is maybe what he meant. Targeting Sunnis, Bahis, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities. Go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, I think he's being a numbskull. It's highly likely that he confused them. You know, the Iranians are Shia Muslims, but considering that he is, governor of an increasingly Muslimized state, I'm kind of surprised that he came out so strongly on that point. All of a sudden, he's got a problem with that. What are you good? So what did Senator Kennedy say? Or was that another? That's another?
I don't have one from Kennedy here on him. I don't know if he was on. I don't know if he's on this.
Then why was that popping up on the screen? Is that something else?
I didn't see.
I don't want to put you on the spot here.
Sorry, no, I didn't see anything. Did I see something pop up from Senator Kennedy? I didn't see anything pop up. I must have missed that. Okay, might have been another article on Fox News. What did happen? This was the rest of the story though. Is that Kane said that he was a strong believer in natural rights, but noted that if natural rights were to be debated by the people within the committee room with different views and religious traditions, quote, there would be some significant differences in the definition of those natural rights. While the Constitution does not explicitly mention God or a creator, the Declaration of Independence does, which we pointed out earlier. And it goes on to quote that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator, yes, with a capital C, with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Kane's sentiment drew heat from Bishop Robert Barron of Minnesota, Catholic bishop, who panned his remarks in a post on X Thursday, today. Barron argued the lawmaker was, quote, actively contesting the view that our rights come from God and not from the government. If the government creates our rights, it can take them away, Barron said. If the government is responsible for our rights, well, then it can change them. It just strikes me as extraordinary that a major American politician wouldn't understand that this really elemental part of our system. God help us. I mean that literally. God help us if we say that our rights are coming to us from the government. That gives the government, indeed, God-like power, Bishop Barron continued. Yikes. And I would tend to agree with all that. I mean, it's part of the foundational
pretty
element.
much the same thing as you just said, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really, really is. So it's on point. But again, thought that was a fun story to kind of cover. Now, the last thing I kind of wanted to get to, I want to get your thoughts on this because there's a lot going on here. Let me pull the article up. So Donald Trump, we talked about this a little bit previously, but switch over to the right article here. There we go. Donald Trump is set to look to another major American city to quell the criminal activity that, at least to this point, has gone unquelled through, the mayor, local police forces, and especially problematic local district attorneys, many of whom, as we've discussed before, were put in there and supported by people like George Soros and his crew and everybody else. We have one of those guys in New Orleans. His name is Jason Williams. Terrible district attorney. I mean, he's one of these turnstile DAs that don't file charges, believes in racial equity when it comes to dispensing justice. You can be arrested for violent crimes a dozen times, and they're still going to be lenient or not file charges. Of course, the irony of that whole situation was that one night within the last couple of years, Jason Williams was driving around the city of New Orleans with his mother in the car, his 80-year-old mother, and Jason Williams found himself the victim of a carjacker likely who was somebody that Jason Williams had let off the hook before. So Donald Trump is looking to address this outside of where he is in Washington, D.C. So, Ron, what's the difference here between doing this in D.C. and then doing this in other cities? Because there's a lot of debate about that going on right now. And, of course, I think there's some differences. So let me get the article pulled up here, because at first people were talking about Chicago. And now, of course, the mayor of Chicago has been very vocal about, we don't want your help. There's nothing wrong with Chicago. Everything is fine. So, it's now they're talking about, well, we're making a determination. Trump said yesterday, do we go to Chicago or do we go to a place like New Orleans? Ron, how is this going to work, or can it?
I think the only way they can do it is if it is associated with protection of it's done in connection with protecting federal agents or employees in the conduct of their official business. And I'm not even getting into the details of the nationalization, the federalization or the nationalization of state militias, in other words, of the National Guard. That's a complicated issue in and of itself, which I am not the least bit knowledgeable about. But unlike Washington, D.C., which is a federal city, and any self-government, any what they call home rule that Washington has is the result of a congressional enactment. Chicago or New Orleans or New York they're not that, and Trump can't order troops into those cities to just patrol them. But there are so many federal facilities. Fort Sumter was fired on by Confederate forces, or I guess they're state militia forces. That was a federal facility. That when you look at what happened in Seattle, you still have these Antifa creeps surrounding the ICE facilities there.
Yeah. Frankly,
I think Trump could do a lot more. One of the things, again, coming back to the speech by Seb Gorka tonight, Trump is not ideological, according to Seb Gorka. He sees a problem, and he's prepared to use the power at his disposal as president of the United States, elected by the people, to solve that problem. And if you don't get out of the way, it might hurt.
Let me ask you a question. Let me pose a hypothetical, and I don't know if there's a good answer to this, but let's say for a moment, and let's take New Orleans, because the state of Louisiana has leadership that is overwhelmingly far more favorable to Trump and what he's trying to do than, say, J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, or the mayor of Chicago, for that matter. But let's say, for example, Trump calls up Jeff Landry. Jeff Landry is the governor of Louisiana, very Republican. The House and Senate in Louisiana is heavily Republican. And Trump says, Jeff, do you want my help? And Landry says, sure. What is the possibilities there? If a governor in that case says, because I think, does that change things? I'm just curious, because I genuinely don't know.
No, well, the governors of the various Confederate states said no.
Yeah.
If the president deploys the military, look, what's going to happen is there's going to be a judge in key places that's going to presume to interfere with this. This is part of the mess that has to be cleaned up. but it's not a matter of what the governor thinks at all. There's still a general rule. Once your deployment is within the realm of a permissible use of federal force, then federal supremacy trumps, you should pardon the expression, trumps state preferences. Thank you, Stitch. Stitch is explaining.
Right.
Federalizing the national. You want to throw that up there, maybe, or no? That's on my channel.
Yeah.
We can't really. Well, you probably can do it, right? Yeah.
No, I got it. It all populates through backstage. Here we go.
Right. Yeah.
Such as federalizing the National Guard, takes them out of Title 32 and places them into Title 10. It's best if the state government activates them. Well, and that was kind of part of my question. So thank you, Stitch. That actually helps me, I guess, kind of reframe what I was trying to say. So again, Landry, Republican governor, Louisiana. There was discussion a few years ago. This is before Trump even got into office. There was discussion around the state. Could the governor, using his power, executive power in the state of Louisiana, could he send in his own Louisiana National Guard into New Orleans?
That's for sure. He certainly could do that.
Right. So that's step one. And I guess that's the question is, that kind of where does that line get drawn if he says, hey, President Trump, would you, we would love to have your help. I'm going to go in and do this. We would love to have, some federal help here. Again, I don't know if that changes the legality or the gamut of being able to do that. And that may be, and my point is, I guess, looking at this headline, if Trump's saying, well, maybe we'll go to New Orleans next, is it possible that his legal advisors said, well, look, you're never going to get permission from either the mayor of Chicago, nor are you ever going to get permission from J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, to go in there and do this. But you've got other states where you have, deep red Republican governors and leadership there that might be more than happy to take your offer to help them fix the issues because, you got a place like New Orleans that has been completely run entirely by Democrats for 50 years.
Right. But if you have a Republican governor, then he, the mayor's preferences are inferior to the governor's. In other words, the governor, every subdivision of a state is subject to that state's authority.
Right. That's why I'm thinking.
No, but I think you bring up a very interesting point, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, why indeed really force the issue on an unwilling jurisdiction? You're offering the help, they don't want it, and indeed, if the people of Chicago are stupid enough to say no, this, the dog with a coffee mug sitting in the room full of fire, right? This is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at what his actual comments were, and I haven't read this whole thing. I saw the headline and I'm like, and I saw New Orleans and I'm like, yes, we would love this. And I'm sure Jeff Landry would go, dude, please help us, because, New Orleans is a wreck. It's been a wreck for some time. One of our good mutual friends, Matthew Marsden, was down here, told the story. He was down here about a month ago.
I just remind me of, I've been spending a lot of time with Matt Marsden here. Keep going. He's at this conference.
Oh, okay. Matthew was, he came down to New Orleans. His sister was in from the UK with her husband and on a work trip, and they decided on the way back to where he lives in Texas that, they'd stop off in New Orleans. And I called him up. I said, let me know when you get in town. I said, I'll take you out. I didn't know where he was staying. Unfortunately, they wound up booking a hotel down near the French Quarter, and they saw some pretty terrible things as soon as they stepped foot out of the lobby. And I was like, oh, shoot, I would have told you if I'd known where you were staying. So we took him out, had a good night. But his comments were, what happened to this city? And I said, well, about the last 40 years. So it's like Detroit. It's just a steady downward spiral. It's a disintegration under piss poor leadership, thanks to, frankly, an electorate that seems utterly incapable of electing proper leadership to do a job. And the city falls into decay and disrepair, and you wind up with crime that's through the roof, filth everywhere, like literal filth, trash, everything. People make jokes about San Francisco or Los Angeles and the pee and poo on every sidewalk and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, other cities like New Orleans, you got a lot of the same problems, although not to the scale because the population is much smaller. But still, I mean, people talk about Memphis, Tennessee now. What a hellhole that's become. Which is funny because the rest of the Tennessee is beautiful. And it's a lot like Louisiana. You've got the pockets like, Baton Rouge, although not as bad as New Orleans, but Baton Rouge ain't that great inside the city limits. And then you've got New Orleans itself, which is largely turned into a hellhole. What I mean by that is specifically with crime. But you have these governors out there like Landry, and he makes these comments here. One day after he declared we're going in about plans for Chicago, Trump on September 3rd said his administration still hadn't decided whether to deploy troops in the nation's third largest city. Trump instead pointed to New Orleans, a city in a Republican-led state, although, of course, New Orleans is thoroughly Democrat, in contrast to Democrat-led Illinois. We're making a determination now, Trump said in the Oval Office to reporters. Do we go to Chicago? Do we go to a place like New Orleans, where we have a great governor, Jeff Landry, who wants us to straighten out a very nice section of this country that's become quite tough, quite bad. So we're going to maybe go to Louisiana, Trump added. So again, I'm guessing that, the conversation's been had, and that's what I wonder. People screaming up and down that Trump can't do this. You can't send federal troops into an American city that isn't called Washington, D.C. Although, to be fair, Democrats in Washington, D.C. were just as pissed that he did it there when he clearly seems to have the legal right to do so. But other places you get that question mark. So that becomes the issue here of, if you get a thumbs up from a governor of a state that says, no, we'd love to help, come on. I mean, to me, that seems to change the legal argument, and I'm thinking that's why they're probably looking at this.
Yeah, I think your insight is a good one. It sounds to me from the way you've described that exchange that Trump, the strategy might be, we're not going to force it on anyone. When we have authority, we'll use it. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be that jurisdiction, if you want to be that state, that city that doesn't want us to help in solving the problem, that's your choice, and that's a political choice that you make. And let the contrast with the cities that we do help out take their political toll. And if they don't, then, what can you do? You can't make people govern themselves.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's
an interesting question, Valiant. I'm sorry. Interesting question though is there no limit? I mean, remember the troops, and again, this was at the governor's behest. Troops were sent to Detroit in 1967 because they had to be. They were burning the city to the ground. Yeah. Well, what if they were burning the city to the ground, and let's say it were Chicago, and you have a mentally deficient person like they have for a mayor, who nothing will make him do the right thing compared to the political thing. Is there no point at which a president of the United States, and again, you have a shitheel like Jay Pritzker for a governor, okay, and he's not going to do the right thing either. He might eat it, but he won't do the right thing. What do you do then? I mean, that's the federal system. There is an extent to which there really is nothing you can do about it. But what if it's a real city like Chicago? I mean, Detroit's pretty much played out. I mean, they're making efforts to rebuild it. What if it's a third largest city in the country? Chicago, my former home from my law school days. City is just going to absolutely. What if the whole city were just erupting in utter chaos, like Detroit was in '67? and the politicians refuse to do anything at the state level, at the city level. Is there nothing that the president of the United States could do? And I don't know. Because again, you can insert troops into certain situations. You do have an obligation as president to protect federal installations, courthouses, armories.
Yeah, and there's some big ones in New Orleans. I mean, you've got the 5th District Court of Appeals right there in New Orleans, right near the French Quarter. I mean, a lot of people pass it all the time on the way to Mardi Gras parades and things like that. So, there's lots of federal buildings down there, which would certainly make things interesting. But again, I think if you've got a friendly crowd in terms of the politicians running the state, which in this case Louisiana does, again, albeit New Orleans does not, they have a Democrat mayor from California who may be the most incompetent person that's ever held the office, an absolute crook who's now under federal indictment, and that's something we're used to here. I mean, probably within the next couple of years, we will now have had 2 mayors that go to prison in the last 20. By the way, if you watched the Katrina documentary on Netflix, and I'm not going to get started on that because that pissed me off. But if you watch the Katrina documentary on Netflix and you're wondering, well, how come they didn't have Ray Nagin in the documentary? Because he was mayor of New Orleans when Katrina happened. They had Mark Morial, who was mayor before him, another Democrat. They had all these people because Ray Nagin's in prison. That's why. So La Toilette, as we call her, she'll probably be the next one up. Because she's just robbing the city blind. I mean, paying for all the stuff she wanted. But all right, let me grab the super chats we got coming in here, and I think we'll wind it down here. Archer Merchant for 2 could be those USAID NGO speaker fees for events. Talking about our friend out there, the Somali pirate up there from Minnesota or Michigan, where the hell she's from. Where's Ilhan Omar from? Is it Minnesota? Minnesota, right?
Minnesota, Somalia.
That's it. Minnesota, Somalia. Snarky for 5, we need to loan the UK a copy of our Constitution by booting it right up their arse. So maybe, just maybe, they change. Yeah, and I've been so busy this week. That's one of the things I really, really want to get Matthew on a Renegade Nation live show, and we're going to talk about the whole thing in Britain, because that's basically his entire Twitter feed for months now, is just watching his former country. He's now an American citizen, but watching his former country just absolutely fall apart. Britain ain't gonna be British much longer when you look at the stuff that Matthew posts and the stuff going on over there.
So I got to tell you, Matthew has been here since the beginning of this of this, and he has spent the entire conference at the bar.
Wait, are we talking about the same guy? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Matthew Marsden, our friend. Yes.
Yeah. YouTube, Matthew Marsden, former actor.
Yes.
Well, still actor, I should say.
Yes.
He's trying to get back into it.
Yes.
What's the
he was telling us
anyway?
about that. And I'm not saying that he was, but I mean, I think he's not that interested in political theory, but he had a good reason to be here, obviously, and it was great. I spent quite a lot of time hanging out with him and Kurt Schlichter, talking about his adventures in Hollywood, and wasn't at all complaining. He's got the best attitude in the world, and he has 100 kids.
I think 9, but yes, close to 100. Yeah,
I think that a 9 rounds up to 10, and it may as well be 100 at that point. I mean, you don't even know that their names. That
right? It's just 1 and 4. Go sit down and eat dinner. No, we had we hung out for hours that night, and we probably heard a lot of the same stories about his Hollywood days, stories that
by the way, folks, can't repeat, so you know this. In fact, maybe you're going to betray me on this too. He's tall.
Oh yeah.
Are you tall?
He's taller than me. I'm like 5'9". I'm not.
Okay,
I
so
wouldn't consider myself tall.
You're normal.
Yeah.
You're a normal height guy.
Yeah.
I got to this conference. Okay, I'm standing in a circle before dinner tonight. Okay, with Kurt Schlichter, Jack Posobiec, who the heck? Oh, Seb Gorka, Jim Hansen. Okay. I feel like a freaking midget. These guys are all towering, and I'm 5'10". 5'10". I'm a normal,
Yeah.
normal to tall, and everyone's looking at down at my shiny bald head.
Yeah.
This is like the conference of the giants.
Yeah. No, Marsden's. I think Matthew's like he's got to be 6'3", something like that. Plus,
and he's quite a specimen. He's quite a specimen.
It's like when you see him in person, because like you see him on the screen, right? And you see him the way the camera's angled and all this, you can never really tell. But then like you meet him in person, it's like, holy shit, schoolboy's tall, bruh. It's yeah. Big dude. I probably, he was like, yeah, I'm trying to get back in shape. It's like, I had, doing this, eating right, cutting out the alcohol. I'm like, we're going out in New Orleans, dude. It's you're gonna have to give up some of that. And we got, I had him going after char grilled oysters, jambalaya, all kind of stuff, just Louisiana food. And then we were, all right, we're going to try this bourbon. We got to try a Sazerac. Took him to the famous Sazerac bar in New Orleans. So you got to have a drink there. And then I was like, let's get a nightcap. We'll get some brandy. Like, yeah, it was, I got home at 2:30 in the morning. So we were out for a while. So we had a good old time, but yeah, we got to get Matthew in here. All right. Hillis Mallory says, you've got mail. Yeah. With my 56K baud modem. Snarky for 5, give me power and I will give your money to everyone that doesn't try or want to try to succeed. Yeah, that's basically the Democrat hallmark. We'll redistribute your wealth for free. What's up, Sean? He says for $2, stop the George Costanza-ing of Trump Democrats. Wait,
if you believe it, it's not a lie. Is that what he means? Uh-oh. That's it. Valiant's frozen.
Oh,
okay.
Am I back? You're back. Okay. My internet, I think my hotspot freaked out. Sorry. I'm glad it happened at the end of the show. Sorry about that. Stop the George Costanza-ing of Trump Democrats. I'm trying to pick up on that reference. You're gonna have to help me with that.
When you froze, I was saying maybe it means if you believe that it's not a lie. Could that be it?
Maybe. Sean, you're gonna have to help me with that one. Oh. Doing the opposite.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, I still don't get it.
Yes. Okay. The episode of Seinfeld. Remember when George decided he was going to do the opposite of everything he'd done in his life? Normally, I would run away. I would never talk to that woman. I'd just right out the door. And instead, in the episode, it's like he walks up to her and goes, hi, my name's George. I'm 35 years old. I'm single and I live with my parents. And I have no job. And she's like, hi, I'm Tracy.
Right. I just saw that a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
I don't know why. Why I remember all the Seinfeld episodes so vividly. But it's just one of my favorite shows. Let's see. Hillis Mallory for $20. My question, is there a way to try and marshal the forces in place?
Marshall, M-A-R-S-H-A-L, folks. Okay.
Yeah.
Forces are martial. They're war related, but this is martial and it's with the one L. Not okay. Just
not like martial law. Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Right.
Marshal the forces in place to crack down on crime and prosecute the criminals for their deeds, or is the Democrat blockades with lax law and order too much to overcome? Well, I mean, the problem is that it's like we were talking about before, Hillis. It depends on, are you going to send the forces into an area where you have favorable governance, meaning favorable to this administration in this case, that is going to grant them permission to say, hey, yeah, please help us come on in. The Jeff Landry in Louisiana kind of situation. In that case, then theoretically, sure. Now, that doesn't mean, and this is maybe another question to answer, is that what then happens if the forces show up, right? And let's say they make a bunch of arrests. I guess in theory, they're still going to have to rely on, in this case, potentially a very crooked New Orleans judicial system or justice system. Right. So, or like I said, and I don't know what the powers in the state of Louisiana are. If the governor could come in and say, nope, we're not trying him there. We're going to take him, or we're going to try him in the 22nd JDC, somewhere else where we've got, a functional district attorney's office and judges that aren't crazy. I don't know. I don't know what the potential is for that, but in theory, you'd still have to deal with a corrupt judicial.
Well, look what happened. Look what happened in Disney. They arrested the guy who threw the sandwich at the ICE agent, and the jury, the grand jury wouldn't indict.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Washington D.C.'s legal so-called justice system is utterly broken. We should be running it out of the White House.
Yep. And lastly, from Stitch, sends in for $10. I'm sending Ron a super chat since I'm watching on his channel. Well, I'm glad they all come through StreamYard, which is great. Makes it nice.
Stitch. Thank you, Stitch.
Ron Coleman, great show. Any final thoughts here on what we discussed?
No, in fact, final thoughts. I haven't been thinking at all for the last 2 hours. We never discussed that as part of the program.
No, okay.
We have to work. We need to do more pre-production work on this. No question about it.
Yeah,
guys, thank you so much for joining us. And it is important that Valiant and I be joined. We joined at the knees, of course. And it was a painful operation, but with your support, we will always be together. Guys, seriously, thanks for watching. How many people did we, including the X? How many people did we end up?
Count I have right now is 2250, but the way it counts X as it's not like YouTube where somebody comes in and goes out. You'll see the counter move up and down. So, but still, I'd say it's around 2,000.
It's total viewers. Anyone who even looked at it for a second and said, "Oh, that counts."
Right. But definitely the X audience is certainly robust. We saw a lot of chats come in. Yeah.
Well, and the nice thing about that, even though it doesn't really work with the chatting, is that
thank you, Matt.
You don't feel like you're, just two guys talking to three people. You've always got company. Thank you, Valiant, for an incredible simulation of reality once again. And everyone have a fantastic weekend. Have you been?
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here next week. We appreciate you. Have a good night.